But the good thing now is like now I'm doing things that I enjoy. I'm helping my clients the way, the best way I can that brings them the most value. And, we're working with the clients that want to work with us in our way. So I just want to start off and saying the podcast that was always a dream of mine I wanted to do. I just never had any idea how to do it. I never had an idea of how to get there, how to anything. I saw Juan making his moves on LinkedIn and I was like, hey, I got to get this guy on my team. No matter what it takes. Locked him down. And the first thing we started talking about is, hey, you got to get a podcast. And it's like the guy was reading into my mind. I'm like, okay, all right. So let's make it happen. Talks about market. And that's exactly what you told me, And again, we go back to a lot of this stuff is exactly what you told me. It's just stuff that I didn't even think of. So now it's like, okay, and
hey guys, today we have none other than Jose Zavala out of Houston, Texas, running ZTX Advisors, as well as hosting the Innovative Disruptors podcast. Now, if you haven't heard of ZTX Advisors or Jose with, he's big on LinkedIn talking about automation processes, more so about processes and Xero. But I think there's a lot of untold parts to his story, right? So we're going to get into that today. And if you haven't seen him, you will see him because he's been a client in the past. He's going to be a client in the future. And here at Goldlake, me, Juan Garcia, focusing on accounting brands, not selling a course, but helping build accounting businesses. We're working on building some of the biggest and well-known brands in accounting. That's part of our mission. And we strongly believe ZTX Advisors is going to be one of them. So this is like a podcast / interview / testimonial type thing. But at the same time, pulling my clients or previous clients to come drop some value for you, you're going to find out amazing things that they pushed through, right? That most maybe CPAs or accountants or EAs first do not believe they can do, like something like starting a podcast, right? So before we get into Jose's story here, and he has an amazing story, I want to actually let him talk a little bit about his podcast because he's coming in strong. I started working with him on his podcast and, looking into April, right? By April, today is April 5th. We both just did not expect this. Not that we were, we weren't expecting anything. We just did not expect such insane opportunity that's coming. So what seems like easy, but I mean, we'll get into this story. It's actually, we're entrepreneurs here. So of course it's hard, right? But without further ado, I'm going to get off the mic and let Jose take the mic and not going into your story yet, Jose, but just to give us a quick introduction, right? And then talk about your podcast a little bit. Talk about what it is. First, tell us what it is right now. And then maybe we'll get into how you started and then our whole story there. But without further ado, you got the mic.
Juan, man, you are the man. Thank you for that introduction. Jose Zavala, ZTX Advisors, as you see right here, based out of the Houston, Texas. Best city in the world. I'm sorry for those of you that aren't listening out there. It's where I grew up.
It's awesome city.
Podcast. So I just want to start off and saying the podcast that was always a dream of mine I wanted to do. I just never had any idea how to do it. I never had an idea of how to get there, how to anything. And, before I'll talk about the podcast, but, I saw Juan making his moves on LinkedIn and I was like, hey, I got to get this guy on my team. No matter what it takes. Locked him down. And the first thing we started talking about is, hey, you got to get a podcast. And it's like the guy was reading into my mind. I'm like, okay, all right. So let's make it happen. I'm an extrovert when it comes to being around people, but in front of a camera, I'm scared to death. Because of the simple fact, I can't just turn around and just be like, oh, well, I actually didn't mean that, or, anything like that, especially live things kind of like this. I know that there's edits and things could be cut out, but you know what? I'm going to take the advice that you told me. Just effing do it, And that was the advice. It's just
I think I said that. Yeah.
Yeah. You straight, because I remember I was telling you, man, you're like, hey, when are you going to send me that video? When are you going to send me the first video? When are you going to, we had a launch.
That actually took a long time. Yeah.
And I pushed it back and I kept pushing it back and I kept pushing it back out of fear. I was scared, like I said, now I can make a fool of myself and no problem. I mean, I'm used to it now, but at one time I was just, and I remember, and I still remember I was sitting here. And I had made my first video, which was the first episode, which is kind of talking a little bit about Xero and cash coding. That was the very first. And the only reason I sent you that was because I think at that point you were like, Jose, send me the effing video now. Like, stop messing around, So I'm like, okay, you're right. I'm sorry, So I sent it. We got it up. It got a couple of views, and that's whenever I was like, okay, maybe this is something I can do. Maybe let's figure this out. And so what did I do? I bought a mic on sale, $50 for the mic and the headphones, nothing too fancy. Now I've got the little arm, I've got the pop filter and everything, as we go, you kind of scale up and everything. But, at the time, all I had was just that little mic. And even one of the episodes, we talked about this on one of your posts. I forget which, because we're always on LinkedIn or Instagram or something, but I used AirPods for the episode with Katie Thomas. Right. Because it's like I was at home, I didn't have access to anything. And I mean, who cares? Yeah.
By the way, like, if I really need to do an episode and like the guest is like super maybe even famous, and like this is the only time, but like I'm not at home or it's crazy, like I would even do this whole thing on my cell phone, like on the side of the street, like Zoom, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Like, man, I look at the background, like I am not even like Jose yet or JJ the CPA yet. And yet I'm going hard on the podcast, not based off of different, just different things other than like, it's a valuable podcast. Mm-hmm. But please continue.
Yeah. So that was, to be honest with you, and I don't know if I ever told you this, and I'm kind of exposing myself
for saying this. I'm going to be. This is the truth. Being real. This is the truth. The truth episode. This is the truth episode. By the way, guys. Oh, here. Before he tells this a big, truth, I've got to say this. So the Goldlake Media 1 year anniversary is on April 9th. And I am not good at celebrating when I want to win some more. And so there will be no celebration on that day, but there's actually going to be a cool celebration going on Instagram on 4/15, April 15th. So listen for that. Listen for that. Got something coming up, but we had to definitely have Jose on the show. This is a great episode. Keep listening. We had to have Jose on the show before the first year in business. So he'll be our last episode for our first year in business. So it's etched in stone. Jose is part of what we're going to call the Goldlake Classics. And so very special episode here.
Oh, man, I am honored.
The truth episode. So here we go, Jose. What do you got to say?
All right. Truth bombs. So, and I never told you this. Yes, I was scared, but I was also so worried about what other people were going to think, what other people were going to say. My biggest worry was those, does my audio suck? Are nobody's going to listen to me? Nobody's going to anything, and that was, again, the fear. But it was the fear of not having good enough equipment, and the fear of being in front of the camera and everything. Like I said, it's just I can act like an idiot all day. If you see me on Instagram now, yeah, I'll you know, my goofy side comes out sometimes, but I was just wary about it, you know, and I was scared and I didn't want to do it. And I thought I had to go buy the best equipment and I had to go do this and I had to go do that. And the one thing you told me that really hit hard, and this is so true, and I'm going to get close because I want to make sure people hear exactly what I'm going to say. It's not about the audio. It's not about the video. It's about the content. That's what matters, because we can sit there and I can have bright flashing lights and I can have, you know, graphics and GIFs coming up everywhere and, you know, having Dana DeVito dancing in the background and whatnot. You know, I can make it as complex as I want to, but if the content sucks, no one's going to listen to it, you know? And so that was, to me, was the most important. The equipment doesn't matter. You know, nothing matters. Just get it done and get that content out. And so I did the first one and we got it out. And I kid you not, whenever we uploaded it and it's sent out, man, I was just like, what did I do? What did I do? You know? And then working with you, you helped us schedule that meeting with Tax Token, which, by the way, I don't know if I ever thanked you, but thank you. That was our first actual interview. I went into this interview, so I feel so bad for Michael. Michael, if you're listening, man, you are the man for putting up with, you know, intro me and everything. Because I went in there so unprepared. I had no outline. I had no anything. For those of y'all that listen to the episode, halfway into it, I'm like, all right, I think that's enough, you know. And he's like, whoa, hold on. We got to talk about this. And I was just like, oh, you're right. And so it was bad. You know, he saved it. And for that, I will always be grateful, you know. He saved that episode. And so after that, it's just like, okay, well, let me reach out to people maybe I feel a little bit more comfortable with, you know. So I've developed a relationship with Will Lopez, episode 3. And so I brought him on. And with him, I actually try to get a little bit of an outline for it. And you know, we started talking about cloud accounting and this and that and everything. And after that, that's kind of when I hit my stride. I'm like, okay, now I have an outline and everything, you know. The podcast itself, the original intent was the innovative disruptors, you know. So and this is a self-proclaimed title, but I consider myself an innovator. I consider myself a disruptor. I'm trying to disrupt the accounting industry. You know, my topics may not be the hottest.
I think other people will say it and notice at this point.
Yeah, and so, you know, I may say some things that are unpopular at times, but it's what I think, it's what I feel, and it's what I'm doing in my business, and I'm starting to now reap the benefits of it. And so that was the original intent, because I wanted to feature people, but I wanted to, you know, try to feature other companies. So I started reaching out to, you know, there's a company, and I'll tell you this, I'm trying to lock down, that does ATMs, but you can essentially take cryptocurrency out and get cash, or, you know, you whatever. I don't know exactly how it works.
I've used those a lot. I've used those before a
lot. So, you know, and they agreed. It's just trying to lock down the time. You know, I even reached out as so much as try to get somebody from Peloton, the exercise bike, on, because of the community they built. They ignored me now, but we'll see in a couple of years. You know, we'll see in a little bit of time if they're coming after me. You know,
exactly.
Who did I know? I knew accountants. And you know, with this whole of me trying to disrupt the industry, I'm like, you know what? This can be my segue in. Let me just get going, get my footing with what I know, and kind of grow from there, you know? So I did. And I had a couple people, you know, that I thought were in line with what I, you know, kind of the way I thought and everything. And then all of a sudden we have the episode with Justin McAuliffe of CPA Enterprises, and 2.5 hour long episode.
That was a 2.5 hour long episode, man.
Yeah.
That's legend. Like, that doesn't happen in accounting.
And it took me,
it's amazing.
It took me 2 days to upload to YouTube, the video portion of it, because it was just so long. And you know, that's kind of,
by the way, like, I act like I didn't edit that episode. So I edited that episode. Yeah. It took a minute, because like I was, you know, I had to edit it. And because of the nature of the things that they were saying, I had to listen to every second and like take out things. I had to actually take out things, but I wasn't sitting there just listening to it, focused on it. I was listening to it while I was working on other stuff or like doing stuff right around the house, doing different things. And it's a super interesting episode. So, I mean, put some wireless pods in and like do other stuff while y'all get in that 2.5 hours, right? Whether y'all like complete it over a month, like that is probably, I think, you know, it's not there yet. I think it'll come back in the market, that specific episode, but it's probably one of the best pieces to me of content in accounting history. It's just that people haven't seen it. Just like when I used to market artists, I'm like, oh my God, like the whole nation would like this song. The problem is it's nowhere to be seen yet, right?
Yeah.
So man, that was an insane episode.
Yeah, no, it was, you know, and I will tell you this, that one got like quadruple the views of the rest of the episodes. I mean, that's like the most popular episode I have to date. And so if Justin's watching this, don't get too big of a head.
Yeah.
Because hey,
he's like, yeah, see, like da.
Yeah, because you know what? After he watches this, I'm gonna get tagged in an Instagram story.
Yeah.
Number one. And so, you know, oddly enough, some of these people that I've interviewed, I've actually, you know, we spend a lot of the time beforehand talking and everything and just getting to know each other. And now they are friends of mine. You know, so J-Mac, you know, Katie Thomas, I consider a friend, you know, JJ, the CPA is a friend, you know, and so something that, you know, I started the podcast as, like I said, you know, trying to give myself kind of more of a therapeutic, like, you know, get out of my comfort zone, get out of there and just do it, you know, just do it. And, you know, again, because if you're in your comfort zone, you're not growing. If you're not growing, you know,
it's true.
You're not, you know, you're not making money.
You could be at your comfort zone, but if I was in my comfort zone, I would just be at PricewaterhouseCoopers still. And even then, like, you've got to push things, but it's still easier than this. Like,
yeah. Oh yeah. And I mean, it takes a lot of work. So, you know, you've got to schedule it first, get on the right schedule, find time that works for both of you. And then you've got to record the episode, and then there's the producing of it and everything, and then uploading it. And it takes a good amount of time, you know, especially right now. Like you said, it's April 5th right now. Tax season is right around the corner. You know what I mean? But again, this is important because this is more content out there, getting my name out there, getting your name out there, you know, kind of getting the brand out there. You know, we've got to brand, like, and this is something straight out your mouth. You've got to brand and you got to market, you know, that should be the number one priority, you know, working on your business, not in your business kind of thing, you know, because that's the only way we're going to grow. I mean, that's straight out of your mouth. I remember we had those talks and, you know, and essentially, Jose, just do it, you know? And so that's something that you know, I started doing it. So this is what the podcast was about, you know, and that's what it started with. And then, and something again that you said that really, I think, hit home with me. And now that I'm actually utilizing it now, it is a good segue when you're cold calling or when you're meeting brand new people that maybe you want to do business with. Instead of approaching it from a sales mentality of, hey, this is what I can do for you, be like, hey, I love what you're doing. I have this podcast. I'm featuring, you know, I love to feature people that are doing similar things to you. Come on board. Let's have the conversation. And that opens the doorway to have that conversation. Oh, well, what do you do? And this is what I do. And then all of a sudden, you know, you establish that relationship. So it's been a different way for me to be able to approach people that normally would probably be like, oh, I don't want to hear from you. Right? You know, I'm not worried about you.
100%.
And I'll tell you this,
it just separates you, like, as a business person, to where, especially when your actual, you know, business and your career is not podcast host, meaning like, oh, you don't just make money from the podcast like other people, like that's literally their job to run a podcast. It's like, no, I run ZTX Advisors, but here's my podcast, Innovative Distort. Like, that's super interesting to other business people and people that you usually couldn't reach. So like, just those are my thoughts on that. But
yeah, no, it's worked out great because, you know, I actually have started to get involved with an organization here in Houston, the North American Hispanic Real Estate Professionals. You know, I met the current president and one of the board members at another event, and I've been kind of, you know, trying to go to their events and getting more involved in everything. And they actually gave a presentation on kind of marketing for real estate agents and everything. And there was this gentleman by the name of Jaime Resendez that presented using this application called Remind, which essentially it takes all the data, all the public data in there, and you can actually search specific parameters. So if you're looking for somebody that makes over $150,000 in a 2-bedroom home who's been in there for 10 years, you know, and they may be ready to sell, they've got I mean, you can hone these searches in to be able to find inventory if there's none out there, or that's find these people that may be ready to sell, but, you know, or you put that idea in their head, you know. And I was sitting there looking at this and I was like, what app was that? What? Remind. And we're actually trying to lock down an interview with them as well. That's intense. So yeah. It's an awesome, and he kind of demoed it and everything. And so Jaime Resendez, he's got his YouTube channel, and you know, where he does a lot of that and teaches people how to use it and things like that. So, you know, after I approached it, I was like, man, Jaime, I love what you're doing. This is awesome, man. Let's you know, I'm trying to go after the real estate industry. I want to help them out. There's a couple of things I want to help them out, but what I really want to do is provide them value, provide them content that's valuable. Do you want to come on the podcast? I love what you're doing. He's like, yes, I would love to. Set up the meeting. The next week we had him on, you know, and that's right there. That content is out there where he talks about it. And, you know, anytime I would talk to a real estate agent now or something, I can be like, hey, you know what, you need to, you know, I actually run a podcast and you guys should check out, you know, this episode with Jaime Resendez talking about Remind. And you know, and then that's what I talk about. He talks about market, and that's exactly what you told me, you know. And again, we go back to a lot of this stuff is exactly what you told me. It's just stuff that I didn't even think of. So now it's like, okay, you know, and now I'm approaching it that way. I was like, okay, you know, and now that we're kind of, you know, we're grown, we don't have too many views or too many listens yet, and you know, and that's okay, because at the end of the day, it's not about the listens. That's amazing, because you know what? I'm actually going to have someone from another industry come on that's like has tons of views on their podcast and everything, but they're not selling accounting services. So they actually need those views to like get business in, right? Whereas my clients are accountants, I know how to reach them pretty fast, but even them making podcasts, you don't have to have that many views to do business. Like I can literally have 10 views and do as much business as I want with that piece of content. Like my mentor, David Meltzer, he had like the top 5 podcasts in the world at one point because he realized something in like 2017 or 2017, right? But at the same time, one of his most important podcasts with like a really cool person had like around 100 views, which is like nothing in YouTube podcasting world, right? Whereas I'm in the business world, like literally, like I don't know everything about podcasting. I just listened to Gary Vee too, and I was like, all right, start, like, all right, like B2B doesn't need as many views, we'll see. And it worked for me. Like it just doesn't need as many views. But on the flip side, if my only company was selling t-shirts and tank tops, then like, man, I need so many views to have business coming in. Like t-shirts and tank tops are not reoccurring business every month. So that's what accountants need to realize when they're like, oh, well, maybe no one is going to watch this. Like it's B2B people watching other business people talk. Like that's just a valuable scenario within itself. So interesting stuff. Yeah. You know, and that's something like, I actually have lunch with a lender who specializes in lending to LLCs, and they've got this new program and everything. And, you know, and I was able to meet her because, you know, I went to one of these networking seminars and was like, hey, you know, talking to her, I'm like, you know, you got to check out this podcast episode. She did. She's like, I love what you're about. I love what you're doing. Let's connect. Let's see how we can work together. And it's just like all based on that, you know? And so I've had two benefits from it. One, I make relationships with these people, you know? So now it's like, again, Jaime, we talk on social media and everything. I sometimes he's got valuable stuff I'll share that, to my network and things like that. And kind of similar to, if I post something, I've seen him sometimes share it as well. And two, the second thing is something you told me is, you have the full length video, but you also can chop it up and make micro videos, and just all of a sudden, so, where you spend an hour and a half making or an hour making a podcast episode, you can get a ridiculous amount of just many things. And just, there you go. You have content for days, sometimes weeks, with just, breaking that up. And so, so that has been kind of valuable. And that's something I'm starting to do now is to take that and try to chop it up and, kind of use those little mini ones on Instagram, maybe on Facebook, IGTV, things like that. And putting it on Twitter.
And that's one of the best ways to get a library of content, right? Just so that you don't have to make, let's say, 5-minute videos every day on a new topic, because there's like so many topics we talk about in this interview, or the 2.5-hour interview with you and Justin. Like, there's so many little cuts that do need to come out of that someone, sure, they're gonna actually listen it or watch the entire 2.5 hours and like comment or message you like, oh my God, this changed my life, right? There's that person, but then there's a person on LinkedIn who sees the 60 seconds and says, oh wow, like these guys know what they're talking about, right? So those are two different things, and we need them both.
Yeah, no, for sure. And that's, I think, has been the value of this. Does it take time? Yes, and everything, but it gets my name out there, and if I want to work with people, or if I want them to know who I am, I can reach out to them and be like, hey, I've got this podcast. Do you want to come on? It gets me on their radar. And so in case I want to turn around and go on theirs or something like that, and so that's something that I realized pretty quickly. So right now, I follow she's and I was telling you about this earlier, a recording artist. She has 2 podcasts about being a mom and everything, and and so she just sent me a message today that she's like, because I shared one of her posts, and she sent me a message today. She's like, hey, I'm gonna go ahead and lock down this interview with you, so we're gonna have her on.
Awesome.
Does she have anything to do with accounting? No, but I believe she can provide a lot of content, because like I said, she went from being a singer to, now she's got her own podcast, and she still sings and everything, but that transition from, hard work, to being a mom and everything. And so I think that'll provide a lot of value, maybe not necessarily business value, but people that may be in her situation or something like that, we could put that out there, let her talk about her experiences. I come across somebody like that, like, oh, this is what I want to do. I'm like, hey, you know what? Why don't you look at, go check out this episode. And by doing that,
I think it does provide business value too, though, because music artists have to grow, like just like businesses, they have to market and get themselves out there to even have opportunities at different things. So like maybe like questions will arise like, oh, well, how did you get this opportunity or that opportunity? Or like, were you spending money on, making a music video, or were you spending money on marketing, like things like that? Like, I think that's going to be a pretty cool little flip of the script there. But so I'll definitely be watching that one. But I think it will provide business value.
No, and you're right on every aspect of that. And another thing too is I realize as well is like, if I want to go after a certain vertical, I can start targeting people in that space to come on the podcast, because I can ask the questions, hey, how did you do this, or how did you get started and everything. Well, it's great content for, let's say, I'm trying to lock down the CEO of an application that provides lawyers, and this is something you hooked up. You hooked me up with the introduction, and we've been trying to lock this down now for a while, but I think we're about to have, I think we're pretty close to it, but
nice.
That's something that he can talk a little bit about that, and the value he brings to one. If one of my clients, if I ever come across, or maybe I'm talking to somebody, they're like, oh, I need a lawyer or something. And,
if you get him on, by the way, that's going to be an incredibly useful episode for accountants, and anyone that, is seeing disruption in their industry, I guess.
Perfect. Perfect.
Because
No, because I've looked at, I've researched a little bit, and to be honest with you, I did it a while back, so I don't quite. I got to go back and look
let
at it
me
again. But
just put it like this, so you
okay,
know that they're disrupting the big law firm databases. They hate that project
okay,
because of
perfect.
the
Then,
disruption it can cause.
then there you go. Right there. That's exactly the type of people I'm looking for. People that are out there to disrupt their industries, try to make it better. That's what I'm trying to do with the accounting industry. That's why I'm so vocal about some of these things. And uh, that's why I follow. I share a lot of stuff that Tim Salah says on LinkedIn. He's a LinkedIn influencer because he talks about the future of work and kind of how him and I think another gentleman by the name of John Martin. They always talk about how to get these tech jobs without a tech degree. Without having a tech degree. And it's all about getting your name out there, and they're talking about the future of work, of how the flexibility and kind of how you need to brand yourself now. It's not just about having the grades. It's about getting your name out there, and you got to stand out differently. It's not good enough to just say, hey, I've got a 4.0. Yeah, that's fine. But this guy over here may not have the best grades, but look at him. I mean, people know who he is. He's turning heads. He's making moves.
I can't believe you just gave that example. Next podcast episode, I'm having on a 4.0 student who had incredible job opportunities, an opportunity at the Big Four, and we'll get into it over there. But he had a podcast in college, and that mattered more than the 4.0 or like the other internships or offers or just like literally everything that he did. It didn't matter as much as what he was doing on LinkedIn and his podcast. Like it just did not matter as much.
Yeah.
So that's
and there you go, and you start, yeah, and that's what those guys, the guys over there were talking about. It's like you start kind of getting your name out there. What do you want to do? For me, I want to disrupt the industry, and I want to help my clients out. So that's what I'm trying to do. And the best way in getting my name out there, and this is how I'm trying to do it with the podcast. Going on. I was on the Latino tax professionals. I gave a webinar this week and a Facebook Q&A with them about kind of Xero and cloud technologies and the internal case study I did and things like that, because that's to me, that's my passion. At the end of the day is to help people, and if I can help somebody, maybe somebody, me and Katie talked about this on our episode, but some people just, they're content working, and that's fine. If that's what you like and you're happy, perfect. But then there are those people that just like, man, I want to go out there, but I'm scared. It's like, just do it, just do it and get your name out there, with social media now. I mean, we've got, and I can say this, I've made some very close friends, like friends that I've never met before in my life,
that's amazing.
And all on social media, I mean, you've got, me and J-Mac talk a lot, we collaborate on a couple projects now. So it's like, I talk to you a lot, JJ, the CPA, we kind of, you see our little kind of flirtation periods that we have on Instagram and stuff, if any of you follow us. But it's like, I've been able to, get with these guys and everything, on LinkedIn, Eric Bergmeyer, and I always get his last name wrong, and I feel so bad. But I met his wife here at the Xero Road Show, and so he reached out to me, and so now we talk and everything, and he's going to come on, and because he wants to talk a little bit about, he's got a lot of the older mentalities, but he's trying to, cater to some of these new things and trying to. He's like, I want to stay relevant, I want to stay current, so I want to give you. Amazing. We heard Justin's side where it's like the young side of like, hey, in your face, like this and that. He goes, I want to give the other side of it. I'm like, yes, like please, because that's perfect. That's what I want. I want this conversation to start happening. I want this to, everybody to go out there and discuss these topics and, provide resources. For those that didn't know, the Latino tax professionals, you hear them, they're like, oh, it's just for Hispanics, for Hispanic tax preparers. Well, what they're trying to do is actually be the leading educator for the tax profession to be able to service immigrant clients. So anybody with visas and, foreign partners that you have and anything like that, they're trying to establish themselves as, we started off maybe being an advocate for the Latino tax preparer, but now we want to be the voice and the education for everybody that has international clients and maybe, you know, undocumented client, things like that, you know, that and you know, foreign clients. And so that's what they're trying to go to. And you know, for me, I think that's one great value for them, you know, to get on the podcast and kind of talk about the story and everything. But it's great value for them to listen, because it's like, you know, now, you know, hey, I can join this organization because I serve these clients and I come across these problems all the time. And I don't know, let me reach out to them, you know, and you can kind of thing, you know. And so that's where now my podcast is at. It's like, I just want to provide value, you know, and value to those that I work with, and, you know, essentially, and like I said, build relationships, you know. I get to meet, I get to meet some awesome people, you know. And
that's amazing.
So that's kind of the whole story of the podcast there. So now, you know, we're up and going, you know. This week I didn't get a podcast episode out because, well, it's tax season, you know. It's okay, and it happens, you know. If you're inconsistent, you're inconsistent.
It's okay. You know? And look, like, if something happens, here's the best thing: like, don't judge yourself too much.
Yeah,
like,
as simple as that, you know. And I mean, if you say, my biggest fear was if I say something wrong on camera and I don't catch it.
Yeah.
Oh well, then just go in the comments and say, hey, I messed up here. You know, I meant this, or just, you know, re-edit the video or whatever, or just put something, you know. It's like no one's perfect, and you don't have to be perfect.
People think I don't notice my misspellings. Like, I notice them almost immediately. It's just that I'm doing business way too fast, and the real business people realize that doesn't matter. Like, you know, Mark Cuban type stuff, like biggest influencers on LinkedIn messaging me in the accounting space type stuff, like misspelling things left and right. Like, I had a client not want to go to LinkedIn, but they're on Instagram, but not want to go to LinkedIn because they're afraid when they post, they might misspell something. Like, the only place misspelling should lose you tens of thousands of dollars or hundreds of thousands of dollars by one misspelling, one little comma. I had a little, you know, I meant to put a comma in the last episode I did. Y'all can go check it. I noticed it as soon as I did it. I was like, I got to put this out. This episode has to be on time. I don't care. Like, that. If you're getting upset about that, like, you don't need to be watching my stuff. But the only place you're going to lose hundreds of thousands of dollars by a misplaced word or letter or misspelling or comma is in a contract. So that is where, you know, misspellings really matter. You really want to check that. But as far as just little tiny posts on Instagram, like, where you're going to be posting hundreds of times, like, over the next year, like, come on.
Yeah. And that's the thing, you know. And even then, if you put something and it's wrong, you can always take it down. You can always take it down. You know, if it's that big of a deal, if you really gave some bad advice, okay, post a video. Hey guys, I messed up. I'm sorry. You know, like, it happens. Oh well, let's move on. You know, that's the thing. At the end of the day, it's like
some people delete their post though, and then don't say I messed up, and then just go with the right answer. Right.
There you go. Or do that too as well. You know, I mean, it's all about, you know, what you want to do. You know, and then something that you told me was, you know, that was kind of my biggest fear too as well. And just I still remember this because I was sitting here and it just kind of like an aha moment. And I don't know why it was an aha. Well, I know why, but I don't know why I didn't think of it. It was just like, man, F it. You know, get it out there. People get mad at you. Oh, well, too bad, so sad. You know, I mean, that means they're listening.
Yeah.
You know, and that was something I was like, you know what, you're right. Because my biggest fear was, you know, I'm sitting here talking about this stuff and that stuff. And you know, what if I'm going to offend somebody, or what if I'm going to this, or what if man, who cares?
Yeah. Your mental health episode is freaking amazing.
Thank you. Yeah. I mean, and that's something
all these amazing episodes, how he said, like, oh, we don't have a lot of views right now. At some point, like, if he keeps going, there's something called the water line, right? I actually don't talk about it enough, but the water line, right? And when you break it, they're going to go back and check your previous episodes, right?
Yeah.
So,
no, and that's something, you know, I'm hoping for, you know. Now, is this something I want to do full time?
Like a podcast as a job. That's everyone has to understand that's not what we're doing here.
No, like not at all. And I mean, and if it gets too much or if something happens, I can just quit it and then, move on. It's not like I'm not depending on, on anything for this. This is just something for me that I now enjoy it. I like this. I've realized I like speaking in front of the camera. I feel comfortable talking in front of the camera. I gave my first webinar, like I said, this last week, and I was shaken, but I got through it. And what's the worst that can happen? Nobody watches it. Oh, well, I was able to record it. Now I'm going to start dropping those tad bits of what I talked about on my channels, again, content, and that's what it's about. And that's something we talked about, was building up that library of content for those days when you can't put anything out. You've got that to be able to pick up and put that out, so for tax season for us, for me right now, I'm swamped, but I took the time to come here because this to me is important, you know, and this is important to me to get my name out there. And then, you invited me and I'm like, well, of course. Yeah, of course. Juan invites me. Yes. So it's there like, we go. There we go. Love it. And so that's kind of, the whole story of the podcast. I know we might've gone on a couple of tangents there, but that's essentially how it got started and what it is now. And so as you see now, if you start looking, some of my background sometimes are all messed up. I think at one point I had the camera like looking up, and now I've got it set up. I've got my wall of swag back here.
That looks intense. That looks nice, man.
And I'm waiting for some of these other people that kind of have supported me and from the beginning and everything. I told them, hey guys, as a thank you, send me some swag. I'll put it up. I'll take down the ZTX banner or get a smaller one and then start putting swag up. I mean, I use Xero religiously. I mean, USA Soccer, just because I went to the soccer game, and then Paychecks, I've been working closely with them here recently. And so, I was like, hey, give me some swag. You guys have helped me out on some of these issues that I've had. Let's get it out there. So, so that's kind of now where we're at and everything. And, like I said, I've got the boom mic now, and I've got the little bit better. And as I get there, I get better and better with it. But man, you don't need that. Like I said, I recorded an episode in my dining room.
I've got the laptop and these headphones in the wall. That's what I've got.
Yeah, and that's all you need. And that's all you need. That's what, those people that are talking about, oh well, your audio sucks and everything, and because there was even a comment on the Katie Thomas episode. Hey, you should think about getting a mic, and it's just like. And I'm not gonna lie to you, I was just kind of like, and I even commented like, hey, I was at home and I did my AirPods, but then I started thinking about it. I'm like, it doesn't matter. The content is still valuable. Like what she talked about is valuable, so it's like, who cares? I'm not trying to be the number one.
People like to come in like the partner at 11 p.m. and midnight, make one suggestion and then leave, right? On comments. So people really got to be careful with that, especially people that and professionals that analyze things like engineers or accountants, right? Or even lawyers, right? Someone commented on my stuff, right? We got to take care of it. You know what I mean? People love to just swing by, give some quick advice, but a lot of times they don't know what we have coming up in the future, or that we're not doing a podcast like as a job, like just trying to be, all extravagant, right? Which it will in the future, right? But it doesn't for what we can afford right now. We have better places to put our resources into that you're not going to see on the podcast, but it is affecting our business, right? So I would definitely keep that in mind if I'm either running a podcast or simply posting online. People love to come in real quick and be like, oh no, why are you doing this? Like, da, 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 da.
People love to be haters. Right. People love to be haters. I mean, that's just a simple truth.
And you've got to separate like the haters from the people that are also interacting with you, like saying like, maybe, here's something about your sound, but like maybe you could do this, right? And then mention something about the episode where they really watched, because like what they should be able to do is take the gold nuggets from your episode, no matter if I was standing on the side of the street and it was like windy, right? With even a windy side of the street with bad audio, and I sound like you know, a truck driver audio. You know what I mean? You ever hear like a truck driver on a walkie-talkie? If I'm dropping the most value, people are going to listen to that, and the right people are going to listen to it. And so
for sure.
your actual prospects, like the actual person you're trying to attract, you've got to know what they like and what is acceptable and what isn't, right? But at the same time, you know, your prospects are not the whole market. You've got to know exactly who you're targeting in the market. And so as long as your content does that, I think you're fine with comments like that.
And so that's where I'm at that stage right now, where I'm trying to lock in who I'm going to go after. You know, right now I just started it just to start it, you know, and just to kind of get out there and
you have content now of you.
Yeah. And, you know, like I said,
you have content of you dropping awesome advice now.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. You know, that's what I want. You know, like I said, that episode with Jaime is to me, it's very, very valuable, you know, to real estate agents, you know, because he brought up a good point. Like most of them that start fail, you know, and so it's this is a way to kind of help you, you know, and this is something, if you can utilize it, do it, you know, because he was saying the cost of doing this is a lot cheaper than, you know, instead of just sending a bunch of mail outs to everybody, you know, you target only the people you want, send it to those addresses, and, you know, you only send maybe a third or a quarter of it, but you're going after the exact people you're looking for, you know, and that to me is huge.
That's intense.
You know, and so that's something, and I'm trying to lock the actual software company on, because I want them to kind of go a little bit more into detail of talk about that and maybe what else they can do and everything, because again, that's going to be valuable to the real estate space, which is what, you know, I'm trying to kind of go after.
And I think I have another cool real estate guest for you too. He has his own real estate podcast as well, so that should be super interesting.
Nice.
Going down that kind of path too. Like
so and there you go, you know, and then I start meeting people like that, you know, and again, it's a segue to like, hey, I have a podcast, you have a podcast, you know,
that's a valuable thing.
And especially people that maybe there are people that are still trying to get their business up and running, and they're doing innovative things, and, you know, they're trying to get their name out there. They're like, you're like, hey, I had this podcast, and you want to come on? Yes. Everybody's trying to get their name out there, you know, and so that's something that I've seen as well too. It's like I've gotten more where I get a lot of friction is maybe from these established companies, you know, they're like, oh yeah, that'd be nice, or that's a good idea, but, you know, if they're an up and coming or something like that, immediately, let's make it happen. Let's make it happen. And so, it's been a wild ride, man. Yeah,
I just have so much like good outlook for your podcast, just because of the way it's, first of all, who you are and like the value that you drop. Like you're fine without guests as well, and that's the distinction I want to make too. Jose, like, is where both me and Jose and I, we're bringing on guests like for specific purposes, right? We're giving them, first of all, we're giving them the value of, hey, you get to tell your story. You get to add more context around whatever topic is your favorite, right? Let's talk about it. But at the same time, we're developing relationships with people that we wouldn't have. We're going into new markets. More people are finding out about us, right? Their network, who is super valuable, they're finding out about us, right? And not like a value leeching way, but for both of us, people are very excited to come on our podcasts, right? When they do. And so I think just the future of running your podcast, like it's an inevitable success if it isn't already. But, you know, maybe you'll see like the effects of also doing different types of podcasts. By the way, for the audience out there, like Jose is running an interview-based podcast right now, right? Not everyone has to do that. I think the most difficult thing about that is like getting the guest, right? Booking the guest and then prepping for like, I actually don't prep a lot for my guests. I like learn their name, learn where they're from, and I kind of like highlight here what I want to talk about, right? But other than that, I'm not like researching for an hour like it does. And that's where people do, you know, get caught up. You could like that. That's up to you. It depends on how you roll, right? If you're not good at this, like just kind of sort of winging it, which like I think I don't even like to use that term, like because 7-on-7 football, or like better yet, no huddle offenses, it might look chaotic and crazy, but it's actually like dialed down. We know what we're going to do when this happens, right? So I know how to end the episode or go to the next topic, right? That I think that's the hardest thing about having a guest on. Other than that, like on the flip side, the benefits of it are so incredible. But there's also like a few other podcasts you can make, and I'll talk about them maybe in the next show because I want to get on to the next topic here. But I just wanted to clarify that what Jose has, you can make a podcast like that, but there are also other options if you just, do not want to have a guest on. But right here, we're telling you like it actually is, if you can set up an interview style podcast, it's probably going to change your business. Like I'm so silly. Like, why did I say probably? If you have an interview style podcast and you keep doing it, it's going to change your business, guaranteed. Okay.
Yeah.
Anyway.
No, for sure. No, just to add real quick, that's the next me getting out of my comfort zone. Right now I'm comfortable interviewing. The next portion is forcing myself to actually do solo talks, so that's next on the list. So those are coming out. It's just a matter of I just got to do it. Like you said, like Juan says, just definitely do it.
Yeah, just do it. Like if no one's booking you for keynotes yet, have a keynote in your office and record it, right?
I mean, that's what I did. That's what I did with the mental health episode. That's something that was on my
and that was crazy good. That was crazy good.
And so, and I'm just like, okay, this can work. And so now it's like, okay, let me start doing some of that and going to there. I don't have to necessarily do interview styles and 100%
all the time.
So that's kind of, like I said, I wanted to just let everyone know too. It's like, while I'm good at that, and you may say I'm not, but I think I am.
Awesome.
So okay, that's the next step. So let's go ahead.
Okay. So now let's backtrack. Jose, square one, starting your firm. Where you started your career. I think, I'm going to link Jose's podcast down there, right? He has a freaking amazing story, but your firm, like starting for your career, like starting the firm part of it, how did that go down? And then let's string that out to like almost even like month by month, like where are you at now? Like, what are you seeing in 2019 versus what you saw in your very first month in business, right? So the story of Jose, the entrepreneur, what's all that about?
Yeah, no. Okay. All right. So let's see. History, worked at CPA firms for my whole career, worked in public accounting. Came a time when I wanted to, I thought there's a better way of doing things. Several factors came into that. It was I needed to make sure to spend time to finish my CPA, studying for my CPA and everything. And I just wanted more flexibility. There had to be a better way to do all of this, And so talked it over with my wife, 100% supportive. We're like, okay, let's focus on your CPA and everything. Started studying. Life happens. Things happen. A lot of clients that I brought on at the old firm kept calling me, hey, we don't want to work with them. We want to work with you. We want to work with you. And I'm just like, okay. So then, that first year, I think I just kind of outsourced that workout and just kind of, okay, just to keep them happy. And then I was like, what am I doing? Let me just do this. Instead of trying to find a job that's going to fit these kind of different parameters that I'm looking for that may not exist, let me make it happen. And so I was like, okay, I at that time, my wife was pregnant. I was like, okay, one thing I do know is I want to spend time with my daughter when she shows up, whatever capacity that it is. And so the big thing, there was the tax day floods that hit here in Houston a couple of years ago, which at the time I was still at the CPA firm. And
that's intense, man.
And we had a client who had file cabinets everywhere and just lost all their paperwork, lost 20 years worth of records because the roof caved in from the floods. And then on top of that, we had Hurricane Harvey hit here in Houston. Luckily, nothing happened to my house, but
That's amazing, man.
But I saw other people and kind of that, and that's when I realized I'm like, this old, there's got to be something out there. There's got to be a way for me to work, and I had some exposure to the cloud working at the old firm. And I'm like, there's got to be a better way. There's got to be systems out there, services out there. So the first, I want to say 3 months that I really took off, all I did was demo. My wife would even be like, hey, what the heck are you doing? Are you demoing again? I'm like, yeah, just, I have a plan. Just, bear with me. So I'm going, I choose some softwares and everything. And, I start getting referrals, and then I land this really gigantic client, big client, and I was like, yes, I was like, I made it, so start working with them, realize that, they weren't my ideal client, and a lot of the way they worked didn't really match with the way I wanted to do things. And so, and then all of us, there started to be some friction there. And then I was just like,
what do you mean by the way I wanted to do things? Right.
So
you don't have to talk about them, but like,
So for me, they demanded that I be at their office 3 days a week.
Ooh.
They wanted my face. And so at the time, I still hadn't realized Zoom existed. I knew Skype existed, and they didn't want to do virtual meetings. They wanted to do in person and everything, which is fine. But they were North Houston, and I live on the South Side, and that's an hour drive. With traffic, it was. And those of you that are from Houston, they work there. They were up off of 290, which that is like the worst freeway in all of Houston. When it gets busy, and then I think at the time there's a lot of construction. It's bad. So it's bad. Yeah. So they demanded a lot of my time. At the time, I actually went and was contracting with another CPA, trying to kind of get some money in and everything. And they started demanding too much of my time, so I had to kind of cut that out. And it's just. I'm a very collaborative, I want to work. I like to work very collaborative. I like to be very transparent about my work and everything. But they kind of wanted me to be an in-house CFO, and we're asking a lot of that. And there was a lot of scope creep.
Yeah.
There was a lot of scope creep,
That's, yeah.
And for me, I just, I was like, I got to keep this client happy. I start doing some of these services, not necessarily being paid for them. And everything, so it just kind of, and then it just, it just got to the point where it was too much for me. It kept growing. They kept adding more and more, wanting more and more. And I was just like, finally I got to the point, like, guys, I just can't service you anymore, And so we split ways. And so that was a huge hit for me, and all of a sudden I was trying to scale my business up. And at the time I was, the fanciest apps and, all this other stuff, and, trying to get, the nicest stuff out there. And, this is what I want. And I'm an innovator. I'm working on the cloud and everything. Yeah. Whenever I stopped with that, whenever we disengage with that client, then I realized I don't need all this stuff. I don't need all this. I need to approach this with a smarter view. So I had to start scaling back down, big time. And it's just like, man, I don't need this. Like, there's other softwares that do, document management. I was paying, at the time, I think,
say their name.
$700 a year for it, which is not much, but I was paying it yearly, and all my new renewals came up at the same time. So I started looking. I was like, man, there's got to be a better way. And I had brought on a staff to help me, and so now she was expecting a certain amount of hours, and I didn't want to let her go because she's very valuable, very smart, IT background and everything, and so it's just like, I'm trying to kind of, and then as I'm going to, and I'm like, okay, I got my budget, I'm okay. And then another client tells me, like, hey man, we're actually merging with this other company next month, so we don't need your services anymore. And I'm just like, ooh, like, okay, so here we go, and things got rough. I'm not gonna lie to you, things got rough, and for a while there, things were very rough. And not to say there still aren't, but it's just kind of just the way it is. Business goes. I made some bad decisions. I made some wrong moves that I thought may have been right at the time, but I was thinking too short term instead of long term. And and it's just, it happened, you know? So things kind of happened. And then all of a sudden I just took a step back and I just kind of sat there and was like, whoa, like, you know, okay. So it's like kind of changed my business model a little bit, changed some things, changed my service offerings, you know, how I was going to offer, changed my pricings, and really took a look at, you know, some of this stuff. And do I really need this software that'll do this? You know, yeah, it saves me time, but do I need to pay that right now? No, I don't. You know, and that's something I you know, kind of tangent. That's why I talk so much about the processes and the systems that work for you, not the fanciest, because I made that mistake and it almost got me, I almost had to shut the doors, you know, because things just got too much. And so took a step back, and now I feel like, you know, I took the mentality of a startup, lean and mean.
That's
you
amazing.
Know, lean and mean.
Love
and
it.
so, you know, I have the office space. I've got the contract in there, so I have to pay for it. But I'll tell you this, once the office space is done, I'm going back home, working from home, setting up the, you know, the wall of love, I call it, you know, at home, and, you know, just kind of running it there. And now I feel like I have the capacity, the capability to work virtually, you know, and with tax season being here, that kind of helped and everything. So, you know, I'm not sitting here telling you, you know, don't feel sorry for me or anything, you know, it's part of doing business, you know, and I'm sure some of you guys have been in that same exact boat where you're like, oh, I need to do this, you know, I need to do that. And then I'm having to,
I need to do this. I need to do this, or I'm like closing the doors like that.
Yeah. You know what I mean? And so,
at the end of this month, if I don't get enough money, like, that's it.
Yeah, I can't afford anything.
Those are the situations that entrepreneurs go through.
Yeah, you know, and so there's ups and downs. And one thing, man, I will say that there was a few people that really kind of helped me out. And of course, my wife, you know, very supportive. She's like, just roll with it, and we'll figure it out. You know, we'll figure it out. You know, there, and then there's people kind of collaborative.
When did she say that? Was that like one specific moment, or was that like kind of
it was just no, it was a specific moment when I tell her, I was like, hey, things are tough. You know, I made some bad decisions. I overextended myself there for a bit because, you know, I relied too much on this, and, you know, it's just the reality of it. You know, you're running a business, you make mistakes, you know? And like I said, I was so kind of like, oh, the nicest, fanciest apps and everything. And I wanted to do this, and, you know, these services I wanted to provide and everything. But it's just like, I can do all that without that stuff. You know, I don't need all that. I spend the money now where it'll save me the most time. And now I feel like I've got a really lean and effective machine that I'm running, and with minimal cost, you know? And so I looked at her, and I just, you know, it's a reality of it, you know? And I looked at her, and I was like, she's like, no, just stick with it. You got this. Those were her exact words. You got this. And so then I started kind of, you know, I was like, okay, let me ramp up my social media presence. Let me get kind of out of my head and everything, you know, and really let me attack this, you know, I'm not going to give up. And I did. And I started getting, you know, out there and everything. And I started meeting, you know, other people through the podcast and everything, you know, and all of a sudden now I feel like, you know, am I clear? No, but I'm in a much better spot I was a couple months ago, you know? And so now it's just like, okay, I'm good. I'm past it. Like I said, now I've got a lean, mean, running, effective machine. And, you know, I've got my staff that's killing it. And now we're kind of, you know, okay. And we've got opportunities coming to us and everything. And so I you know, again, because putting myself out there, you know, and really talking to people and all that kind of stuff. So that's what, you know, again, that's the reality of it. You make mistakes, you grow with it. It's part of being an entrepreneur, you know, it's part of it, you know, and now I learned, and it's valuable for me, and it's more valuable to my clients, because now I know it's like, hey guys, you know, if I see the same trends, hey, take a step back. Like, you know, this happened to me, you know, no one's perfect. You know, and so that's the story, man. And now where we're at here is just kind of like, you know, we're back up, and, you know, we're kind of with the approaches and changing a lot of these different things and everything. You know, we're up and going, and I'm excited now because, you know, people are starting to know who we are. People are starting to know who I am. I'm really starting to kind of get my voice out there again, and, you know, and my face out there. And so I feel like, you know, I've had people contact me like, hey, I like what you do. I've had some people contact me, hey, I don't like what you do. And that's fine. I'm not going to please everybody, you know?
I love it.
I'm not going to please everybody, but
hey, hey, I don't like what you're doing.
Yeah, no, I had a link
love it.
It's just like, hey man,
You might want to watch yourself.
yeah, some of the stuff you're saying, like you're going kind of hard at some of these old school is not necessarily bad. I was like, I never said old school was bad. I said old school was bad for me. I never said old school is bad. I respect those guys. They make money. They may work twice as much as I do, but they make money, and they're successful in their own right. For me, what's more important to me is spending time with my family. So how do I make this business model work to where I can spend more time with my family? And how do I do that? And how do I do that? That's where I bring in these technologies, these cloud technologies. Like I said, these different kind of applications and things that help me run lean, smooth, like smooth and fast. And like you said, no huddle offense. Like, okay, we know what we got to do, and let's go. And so that's where I'm at now. And it was a very valuable lesson, and I'm ashamed of it, but at the same time, I'm not, because it's like, it's part of doing business. You make mistakes, and you don't account for certain things, and maybe you overextend yourself, and then it's just the way it is. Businesses go up and down, go up and down, go up and down. And so, to me, it's a valuable lesson to me, but it's also much more valuable because now when I start to see that with some of my clients, I'm like, hey guys, take a step back. Like, hey, we need to kind of take, you guys are starting to make these decisions that are, starting to, let's slow down and let's see where we're at, and let's take it a little bit slower, kind of thing,
That's super interesting.
Yeah. And so it's been very helpful. You know what I mean? Like I said, I'll be real truth. I'm a little ashamed of it, but it's the reality of it, and here we are, man. Like you said, honesty, the truth. Here we go.
The truth episode.
You know what I mean? I mean, it's just what it is, And so now it's like, now I'm doing things that but the good thing now is like, now I'm doing things that I enjoy. I'm helping my clients the way, the best way I can, that brings them the most value. And, we're working with the clients that want to work with us in our way and everything, and they're all kind of like, they're happy about it, and then they're like, okay, and they're willing to, I'm trying to think of the right word, not adapt, but they're like, hey, this is how we want to work. Okay, perfect. Because now we're very collaborative. We're very open. We're very transparent, with all our clients. They know where we're at on each single individual task. If I'm working on your tax return, you'll know what percentage I have going on based on the task. I'm at this level, or it's at this level. And kind of things like that, so that's something that to me, I've always wanted, and now we have that, and the clients appreciate that.
That's amazing, man.
And like I said, lean and mean now, lean and mean, and just like go with it, and
that's so amazing, man. That's amazing.
I'm so
excited for you.
Thank you. Like I said, the reality.
Because when I first met you, that was not the case, right?
Yeah. No, I mean, when you first met me, I was all about, I set this up and set that up and everything, but I wrapped myself up because
to join you, I mean, I'm way better now than when I first met you, but
and so it's just like, you get all this ramp up and, I'm going to offer these services, and, I want to start doing this, and I'm going to use this fancy new application, and I'm going to use that fancy new application and everything. And then it's just like, but I didn't have the time to market. I didn't have the time to get my name out there because I was spending so much time working with this, with this client. Valuable work and everything, but it got too much, and that's where I had to take a step back and be like, okay, this is going to hit, this is going to hurt, but it's for my own mental health, and it's for my, the benefit for them.
Your mental health episode is underrated. I want every accountant that's listening right now, I'm going to link that episode specifically because I think that's the one you need to, like, first of all, do business. Like, before you need a business episode, like, you need that episode, especially in the accounting industry.
Well, thank you. Yeah, I mean, I would just spit the truth, because I see it all the time, and I talk to colleagues all the time, and, it's just, it's the truth, it's something that's never talked about.
Like,
it's never talked about, like this right here, openly talking about this, I mean, again, like I said, I'm ashamed because, I made mistakes and everything, but it's just like,
that takes a lot of,
you make mistakes, you got to own up. I own up. I learn from them. I'm not making them again. You know what I mean? And so that's where we're kind of at now. And it's just like, okay, let's make it happen, and so I'm excited with the path we're at now. Like I said, I changed a couple things. I did a couple things. I figured I put my time and effort into stuff that wasn't bringing me the right value, that wasn't bringing me, how I wanted to grow my business. So now I feel like I'm in a really good spot to where, okay, I'm putting the time and effort and it's starting to kind of come back. Like, okay, now I'm starting to reap the benefits of it, and I will say this, a lot of the branding stuff. And if you guys see me on social media and everything, I mean, none of that's me. That's all Juan Garcia. I mean, that's what it was. I mean, that was his advice, his advice. I had somebody reach out to me like, man, he goes, I went down the rabbit hole. I looked at your Instagram and I spent, I don't know how long just looking at every one of your posts.
Wait. That's exactly what I want. Like, I want them to tap on one thing from our clients and like go down the rabbit hole. Like, actually, I call it like the wormhole. Like, I don't know, like just clicking to the next thing. Like, oh my God, this person is good. Like, what else do they got? Right. Dude, I can't believe you said that. Anyway,
yeah, that's what he told me.
That's exactly what I want. So that's a big win for me personally.
Yeah, he's like, man, I was looking at it. He goes, I saw your content, and I was like, he goes like, I love your primarily your Instagram page. I love it. And I went down that rabbit hole and I looked at every single one of your posts, and I was like, man, that's a lot, bro.
That's a lot.
But thank you, like, I appreciate it. But I was like, to be honest with you, yeah, some of that is me, but that's I mean, I give credit where credit's due. It's Goldlake Media, and it's the advice and it's everything, and so do I have a lot of followers yet? No. Can I be doing more? Yes. I could be interacting more and kind of something like that. We can always be doing more.
We can be doing a lot more. Like, I'm going to take Jose's mental health episode. I'm not going to say it because someone else might do it. But
okay, yeah,
it's going to change the way accountants think about. It's going to make some accountants literally rethink their life, and it's probably not even going to come this year or even next year. But like, it's going to be big. I'll refer to this moment in this episode,
all right,
when it happens. But it's going to be important. But meanwhile, watch his episode because that's what it's going to be based off of.
No, thank you, by the way. That's awesome. But yeah, I mean, that's kind of what it's about now, and developing these strategic partnerships, and reaching out to people and everything, because I realize also as well, I can't do everything for everybody, so where maybe I'm trying to do something and somebody else can do it a little bit better, let's bring them in. It's all about the collaboration. That's one thing I think the collaboration that I've had is what's given me the most success with other people, because I'm no longer competing, I'm not competing with, you look at, again, back to the same example. You look at my boy J-Mac, you look at my boy JJ, the CPA. We're all essentially offering the same services and the same products. We're not competing with each other. We're not. One, there's enough business to go around. I can't even talk. Business to go around for everybody. But two, I have my lane I'm good at. J-Mac has his lane he's good at. JJ has his lane he's good at. Why not, because it's about, at the end of the day, serving the clients. Why not, bring in somebody in that expertise and let them, you provide the most value to that client. Because then
that's such an interesting topic too. Like, please continue after this, but I just want to point out, he put out his name, like, we've got Jose, we've got JJ, the CPA, we've got Justin McAuliffe, right? CPA, J-Mac. For each of them, different clients are going to be attracted to them, right? Because they're each like purporting and putting out what differentiates them specifically. I had Garrett Wagner was my first interview, I think. And he said at these big fancy conferences, huge, 100 people plus firms, right? They kind of, they all get in a room and they talk about their problems, which is, well, like, the consumers just see us all like we do the same thing. And he's like, yeah, that's because you do the same thing. Like, it's marketing, like, differentiate yourself. So here's what I want people to grab from this part of the episode is literally figure out what is the 1 to 3 things that differentiates you and the people in your firm specifically, even if it's just you, but the people in your firm as well, and the culture. Like, what differentiates you? What are some things? Like, do you talk about music all the time? Do you compare things to like the NBA and the NFL all the time like I do, right? Like, what differentiates you? We've got to put a lot of that out so that the audience, that the consumer, that your prospects can make a logical decision based on emotion, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's logical that you're going to need, like, you know, tax planning here, right?
Mm-hmm.
But the consumer is usually going to make that based on emotion now more times than logic. And if you do that against, you know, competition that's not doing that, you have such an advantage. Being collaborative too, I mean, that's why you can collaborate, because those three different offices are all different, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then if they find an incoming prospect, an incoming client that they feel like the other office can better service, then they're doing that kind of collaboration, taking care of that client, right?
Mm-hmm.
So everything I said there, I think, is something people need to really focus on. Like when it comes to the core of why to market, why should you market in accounting? I think that piece is interesting, but please continue. I just wanted to, you know, put that out there.
No, and that's I mean, that's a very valuable insight. You have a great point on that, you know, because you take care of that client, and while you may lose the business initially there, that client's going to remember, hey man, this guy took care of me. So he's got a friend. He's like, hey, you know, you got a problem here, come to him. He'll take care of you. You know, he'll take care of you. He knows that. And it helps everybody, because you eat,
Mm-hmm.
they eat. And at the end of the day, the client is happy. And that's what it comes down to, is, you know, not having these pissing contests with each other. Like,
Mm-hmm.
oh, you know, I'm smarter than you, or that's wrong, or no, man. Because then you take triple the time to get something out for a client, because you're too busy arguing about who, you know. Oh, well, I've been in this industry for 20 years and I've been in it for 21. Yeah, I mean, I've been in those meetings.
Yeah. So there's two things the prospects really don't care about, like in accounting. And it's, or not that they don't care about it. They care. I meant like they can't really tell when it comes to marketing. And it's like how smart you are, because even from the marketing side, I know how to make someone look smart. That's like not, but that's not something to win on, is tenure. Like, oh, we've been in this many years. No, rather than we've been in this many years, you see JJ talk about the stories of this many years, right? Rather than we're smart, like hear me talk, like we're actually smart, right?
Yeah.
Like,
yeah, no, I mean, you know, you could be the smartest guy in the room, but if you have no bedside manner, client, you know, they're not going to want to work with you.
Mm-hmm.
You know, if you're not willing to work with, you know, it's just, and that's what it, you know, that's what it is. And you know, it's providing service to the client, you know, and where, yeah, we could all be competing against each other, and we are, you know, but we got to throw that out the door, because, and there is a certain level of competition. Don't get me wrong, you know, because now that I'm, you know, with you guys, and we're sitting here tagging each other and everything, and doing these videos and calling each other out on lives and whatnot, like I had to step my game up now, my social media game up. Now it's just like, damn, like, okay, JJ's out here doing this and, you know, calling me out and, you know, talking about me. I got to respond now. So, you know, I do a live kind of response to him, and, you know, it's just kind of, we're all stepping each other's game up. You know what I mean? And so kind of, and to me, it's been awesome, you know, because I mean, it's not just with this group that I've been able to do it. You know, there's other people that I've collaborated with that, you know, it's about taking care of the client. You know, it's like, hey man, I'm going to bring you on. I don't want to do the taxes at all. You know, I'm their CFO, or I'm their part-time CFO, but, you know, I can do the taxes. I don't want to. Do you want to do them? Yeah. Let's collaborate. You know? Yeah. Do I offer part-time CFO services? Yes. But I mean, if we can help out this client, I eat, you eat, the client is very happy. And all of a sudden now we have that working relationship. And now I take care of this client for him. Hey man, I got this other one. Hey man, I got this other, you know, you build those strategic partnerships, you know, and then you start kind of helping each other and passing work back and forth. I mean, again, everybody eats. And that's because it wasn't like, I didn't go into this like, you know, oh yeah, and by the way, you know, I'm going to take care of your taxes, but how much is he charging you for the CFO? Oh, well, knock $1,000 down a month and I'll do it for you. No,
right.
It's not about that.
Yeah.
It's not about that, because while you may gain in the short term there, when you start competing on price,
you're losing to someone like Jose, who's gonna be on the big stages saying all this stuff, but to everyone this time. Like, that's who you really lose to. You
this is the
lose to
future
someone
of,
like Jose long term.
and well, thank you for saying that. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
But you know, this is the future of accounting, and we're here, you know, and it's just a matter of, you know, because again, I don't want to talk bad about these. You know, these old guys are making money, you know, and not old guys, old mentality. They're making money and they're doing it, you know, and working on their compliance only and all that.
Hey,
you know, there's this big talk about moving to the advisor role, and you know what I mean. But it's just about, man, it's just taking care of the client. You got to be you got to be focused on and for me, it's all about quality over quantity. You know what I mean?
With the client,
with the client, because you know, I can go and start marketing myself, and you know, as an H&R Block store, and be like, and you know, not H&R Block, but like a similar.
Y'all come through like,
you know, hey, you know, input, output, get them in, get them out the door, get them out the door, get them out the door. You know, and yeah, I could do that, but what value am I providing them?
Yeah, very little. Like
where I can go after people that maybe have a really small business or something like that, help them out there, and
like grow their business. Yeah,
exactly. You know, so there's a couple right now that I've been able to transition from just tax preparation into tax planning. You know, so we added like a monthly fee and we kind of spread it out for them, and now it's just like, okay, you mean I can pay estimated tax payments? You mean I can do this? Yeah, you know, and then. And then at the end of the year, we'll just, you know, we'll clean up your books real quick, kind of, you know, situation like that. You pay us this much a month. Your tax return's already paid for. Everything's already paid for. And they're just like, you can do that. I'm like, yeah, you know what I mean? And so it's just kind of things, you know, just because of the value I'm bringing them originally. You know, I'm not just churning and burning. I'm not just getting it out the door. I'm not doing that. I'm you know, trying to make sure I give them the value of it. You know, it's just my mentality. Could I be wrong? Maybe I'm thinking at it, but this is, you know, now this is, again, you know, Jose 2.0, ZTX 2.0, you know, like I said, you know, we learned a lot from mistakes. We you know, we made some mistakes. We're learning now. And it's just like, now you know, this model for me has been successful for it, because, you know, again, I eat, my strategic partners eat, and the clients are happy, you know? And so, why not collaborate? You know, it just comes down to collaborating, you know? And so it's just my 2 cents, man. That's what I think about the industry. That's where I think we should be heading, you know? And I know there's a lot of people talking about that. JJ's really big about it, you know, and which is kind of what drew me to him. And how I met him was I invited him on the podcast. We started talking. We realized we had a lot of similar thinkings on a lot of things. And we just started talking to each other. And again, I developed a friend through the podcast. You know, and so again, another kind of valuable thing, like I said, with the kind of wrapping back around to that, is, you know, that relationship with him. Same thing with Justin. Met him, you know, same thing with Katie, you know, same thing with Will Lopez, you know, these other different people. That's how this is, you know, developing, because we get to know each other, we get to talk to each other, and then it's just like, hey, you know, you start talking, and you know, you become friends. You know, and I've been able to meet some awesome people. Some really awesome people. So I just, you know, that's a little bit, like I said, so the reality.
Just start, guys.
Yeah, just start. That's what it comes down to. I mean, what's the worst that someone's going to say? No, I don't want to go on your podcast.
Yeah.
Okay, well, then you know what? In the words of Juan Garcia, well, F you then, you know?
Yeah. So, I could literally, I gave the cell phone on the side of the street example, but like literally I could do business or like make another accountant. Not that I'm going to do it. Someone really smart should do it out there, like that can make this happen, make this work. But I could, check this out, guys. I could literally be on this Zoom call, but instead, like with my desk right here and just the wall, it's fine, like bare bones, right? But instead of that, do this same thing, but while I'm on the toilet in the restroom. Like I could literally be in a restroom right now and like still drop the most value ever, and it would drive business.
Yeah.
Like that's how valuable, that's how much what you say is the quality versus the, oh, I don't have this yet, or I don't have that yet, or I don't know, I don't have the topics I want to talk about yet. Like super, super mind kind of, or action preventing excuses that really go away once you start. Like that's the only way to make all the excuses go away. Like just start and try. Like a lot of people stop too early. That's what Gary Vee says, right? I definitely didn't think about stopping ever because I knew it would work, right? But some people also do stop their podcast, and I got better myself. You can go and look at the evidence. It's on YouTube. Jose got better. You can look at the evidence. It's linked down below, right?
Yeah. Check out episode 1 and then check out the last episode. I promise you, there is a world of difference.
Do it. And so, everyone is trying to make their first episode the best, and it's never, it's never the best.
It's not going to happen. I promise you.
Okay. So, Jose, we've got like about 10 minutes here. Real quick. I know you're big on Xero. I know you're gaining some popularity in the Xero world. A hot shot, I would say. But tell us a little bit about what's going on with Xero and what you see with that. Speaking of collaboration too.
Okay, so Xero, those of you that don't know, is a cloud accounting software. I could talk about the actual software about it all day. That's maybe something, I'm actually.
I could talk about their marketing, but I won't.
And that may be an episode I do where I actually just talk about the software itself, or maybe bring somebody internally to come talk about it. But, to me, the most value I've gotten out of that, and I actually have an article on LinkedIn that I wrote about kind of the features of the actual software that have saved me a lot of time. About 3 hours per tax return, and read the article on my LinkedIn. Y'all follow me, you'll be able to see it there. But what I want to talk about with the limited time is the communities, the community that they have built, this very collaborative community of people that you can reach out to if you have a question about something. Hey, I've got this. This is my process that I want to build out. What application do you choose, or what app? This. Well, then I've used this, and this doesn't work, and kind of things like that. And I've made some really great friends and really great people through that, because it's like, they have these Xero hours every month where you join. And this last topic was application advisory, how to get into that space and everything from some of the big names that are in it right now. And then we break it into these break rooms, and it's just literally a big meeting of just like, hey guys, tell me what you do. What's this? You got any questions? Let's just talk. And it was just a bunch of colleagues talking, colleagues that are competing. But we're openly, hey, I use this, or hey, what about this, guys? And oh, well, that doesn't work. And oh, that worked for me. And, kind of, this is how we got it to work and things like that. And so those are the kind of specifics. It's the community. It's this very collaborative kind of environment of education, of empowerment, of
that's awesome.
I
love it. I love it because the way I like to think about competition is like, check this out. Like, I'm about to sound really cocky. I'm just warning you, but like, it's the truth. Like, I just think I'm so good that I could tell you what I'm about to do, and like, you can't stop me. So like, you can do it too. I feel like I'm going to be better.
Hey, you know what? And I mean, you got to have the confidence. You got to have the confidence. I mean, that's the only way, if you don't believe in yourself, ain't nobody else can believe in you, And so I love it. I love the mentality. I mean, same thing now. I'm at that point too, where I'm just like, I'm good at what I do. I'm good at what I do. Yeah. And, a big thing, kind of right now that I'm trying to do is educate the Hispanic community a little bit about Xero and about kind of cloud technology and kind of what they can do and working on the cloud and giving them that education, because there's not really much education out there for it, especially there's a lot of education for using QuickBooks Online, but there's not much for Xero. And I mean, since we use Xero primarily.
So for the Latin American or just the Latino community in general, or anyone who doesn't know, right? Yeah. Let's just address the elephant in the room on this episode, because I'm just curious too on your take. Why is Xero better than QuickBooks?
Why is Xero better than QuickBooks? All right, we're doing this. Is it the truth episode?
I want to know,
Episode?
like, the truth, like
The truth
what,
episode.
like
Okay.
this is truth episode. Like, basically, I'm at the point of like, what the hell? Like, why is it better?
so
Like,
good?
I see so many accountants saying that it's better.
Yeah.
Now,
One, the community. The community. You can reach out to people and they're very collaborative and they're willing to help you out.
mm-hmm.
The community, there are certain features built into the software that actually can reduce time on some of these actual menial tasks that you do, data entry and things like that and whatnot. 3 is going to be their support is out of this world. If you have a problem, their support is wonderful, better than other systems I've had out there. And 4 is just a cleaner software. To me personally, I just like the way it looks better. Those are kind of high level reasons why. Now if we had the time, we would dive into it. I can tell you exactly what but those are the 4.
He just said that he's going to make a big podcast about it. So
yeah,
so check that out.
So, but those are the high level things, and that's what attracted me to it. And I saw a demo, and I'm like, man, I like this. This looks good. And then, like I said, I started hanging out with the community, and I started, doing this and everything. And it's just like now I'm like, whoa, okay, like this, okay, like now I see why, and now I use other softwares that are out there, and I'm just kind of like, and not to hate on them, not to hate on them by any means. That's not what I'm trying to do. It's just personal preference. This is who I roll with, and that's who every new client I have. The first conversation is, let's talk about Xero, and so again, and I've made some great friendships, and for that, I'll, even if I was to, let's say today, I'm done with accounting, I'm going to go do something else, I will have those friendships there, you know what I mean? Because they're actual friendships. So yeah, I mean, those are the top reasons why. And that's why if you talk to a lot of other people, they'll kind of say the same thing. They may change different things up, but those are kind of, at least for me, what I liked about it, why it's better. Why it's better than QuickBooks, and again, this is a truth episode. So, that's what it is. So
well, thank you for answering that. And I mean, look, Jose's going to be back on the podcast one day, and we're going to talk about some interesting things. I actually already have an idea, but Jose, for all the entrepreneurial accountants out there, or anyone in the accounting space specifically, what is just your, master freaking class last piece of advice that you could just drop for them right here in just a couple minutes? Like, what is your message? Like, what do you have to tell them? What do they need to know?
My message is this.
What do they need to know from ZTX advisors out of Houston, Texas?
The message is essentially this. It's 2-part. 1, believe in yourself and just do it. And the second is essentially, it's okay to be different, and it's okay to be disruptive, and it's okay, it's okay to have different opinions that are outside the norm, as long as they work for you. That's what I want people to know. It's like, you don't have to follow the same business model. If you have an idea, go for it. If it doesn't work, you always can revert back, and just do it, guys. Do it and get your name out there, get your face out there. The more you get your name out there, face out there, and send me a message. I love to meet people, let's talk. Find me on Instagram, start inviting me to your lives. If I got the time, I'll hop on. Why not? It's just that's what it is. If you're going to go out there and do this, find a community that will support you.
100%.
That's to me what has been the most supportive thing, is with some of these vendors or some of these, like that, the very supportive of me, and my business and everything. And so that's, I think, to have that and to be able to lean on other people and, again, those communities and things like that. So that's kind of the big thing. More than 2, whatever, that's kind of my thing. That's what it is, guys. And just, don't give up. Don't give up, and know your worth. Know your worth. I cannot express that enough. Know your worth. So don't let somebody else define what you're worth. You know what you're worth. You know what your product is worth. Stick to it.
Love it. Love it. All right. That is it for this episode of CPA Primetime. Thank you, Jose.
Thank you. Thank you.